Right. I mean, it was a bit of a weird weekend for fixtures because we kind of had FA Cup fixtures and then we just had a random powerhouse top four matchup this weekend. Chelsea 1-0, Man United. It was the game we all knew was going one way, but the game we didn't want to go one way because it kind of felt like a little bit of a stick pole flag in the sand of how the league was going to be sort of played out towards the latter end of the season. I know it's early doors. I know people are going to say it's still, it's still competitive, but it does feel like this was Chelsea very much edging away. Now 5 points clear at the top after their victory on United. Just a quick one. We ran a poll on X/Twitter and 78% of you predicted Chelsea would win.
I thought more would do that.
Do you reckon?
Yeah.
I mean, clearly the other 22% are just United fans, diehard fans. It's probably the Barmy Army who make up that 22%.
I enjoyed you calling it a top four fixture. Man United are fifth.
It kind of feels like a top four fixture.
Sorry.
Oh, no, you got me. No, fair enough. But what did you think of the game? Go on, lay in.
It wasn't a great game. I thought United were really poor. They just kind of didn't offer anything going forward, especially in the first half. I think the scary thing is that, I said this last week as well when Chelsea played City, they're not even playing their best football. And they're still getting the wins. And that was something we saw under Emma Hayes, and it's something that's continued under Sonia Bonpastor. And I think Sonia Bonpastor. Bonpastor.
There's no E. It's not an E-U-R ending.
Sorry, should I Bonpasta, like you say?
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Sorry, Sonia Bonpasta.
Nice one.
I do think it's quite a scary thing to see, like, because they are still clicking, they are still finding their partnerships and relationships and groove, and they're playing numerous games. There's a lot of switching around going on, and they played a different 11 against, well, not a different 11, but they have different players in for the Champions League. Like, they're managing a lot, maybe not always playing their best football and still winning. So I think that's quite a frightening thing.
Do you think they were a little bit lucky though with this fixture? I mean, Chelsea weren't playing their best. Man United definitely were very far away from their best. But had it not been for that penalty, so Guro Rison's first half penalty took her goal tally to 6 this season, only one behind top goal scorer Bunny Shaw. I don't know if you've seen the clip or not, but Fallon Tullis-Joyce gave away the penalty after a foul on Mara Ramirez in the box. She kind of come out to kind of collect it, sliding. I had a look at it. From my angle, I wasn't at the game, but it looked like Fallon had kind of got a little bit of a knee to it, and it looked like Maya then, I don't know, like just got caught by a hand. It definitely wasn't intentional. I understand it was a penalty.
There was no complaining about it from anybody.
To me, it didn't look like it was. And it's not just because I'm a slight United fan.
Well, I think
United fan.
No, I don't think Chelsea got lucky. I think anything other than a Chelsea win would have been robbery.
No, but got lucky that the only way they won was through a penalty.
But my point is Chelsea found a way to win, and I think had they not won that penalty, they would have won the game in a different way. And I think the fact that they got that penalty, maybe they weren't putting their foot entirely on the gas. I think it was a risky strategy in that, Man United definitely could have nicked it at the end. They finally got into Chelsea's third for a little bit and put some pressure on, and I loved seeing Fallon Tullis-Joyce come up at the end. I bloody love when a goalkeeper goes up, and Sab D'Angelo showed us what could almost happen at the beginning of the season. But had United gotten the draw, it would have made things a little bit more interesting, in terms of the league. But I think in terms of performance, even though Chelsea weren't at their best, they deserved the 3 points.
See, I kind of felt it was a bit of a lucky one because I felt like if it hadn't been for that penalty, it could have been one of those draws that kind of upset things and kind of upset the apple cart a little bit for Chelsea. But I mean, it's almost a moot point really, because lo and behold, they did get the bloody win. But let's talk a little bit about Man United. Failed to take a shot on goal in the first half of a WSL match for the very first time ever. Melvin Mallard hit the woodwork in stoppage time. I mean, I was looking back at the stats in this game because I had to really understand what wasn't working with United. So 36% possession, 3 shots in total, and only that one on target in the set. And it's just not good enough. It's just absolutely not good enough. I feel like Man United, the drop-off from Man United this season has been, despite where they sit and despite them having previously been unbeaten up until this point, the standard, I think, has dropped massively.
Yeah, and I think they offered frighteningly little up front. And I know we've spoken in the past about them not creating quality chances, but they're normally creating something.
Definitely.
And I think with that bloody win, Tullis-Joyce could have had a shot on target in the first half. Do you know what I mean? Like, there was, a lot literally driving Manchester United forward, and still they couldn't get anything out of it, which are just, I know Elizabeth Turner was missing. I just thought unusual to start Rachel Williams. Maybe he thought it worked in the semi-final of the FA Cup last year. It'll work again.
I feel like she's a rogue choice, but also like Rachel Williams does have those like really standout games every now and again, and just sort of delivers goods in those moments.
When I watched the game and it got to 70, 80 minutes and Chelsea were 1-0 up and Manchester United started creeping up into Chelsea's third, I thought, this would be a great time to bring on Rachel Williams and put the absolute frighteners up everybody.
She shattered.
Yeah, so, an interesting choice, especially with Mallard on the bench. And I felt she made a bit of a difference when she came on. So it's just like the strange comments from Skinner post-match. I think, proud of the team's performance and their commitment to what they're doing. What is that? Like, I think sometimes there seems to be a bit of a disconnect between what the fans are seeing on the pitch and what Skinner is seeing and saying. And it just reminds me a bit of the Phil Neville era, where he insisted that England were playing like the best football he's ever seen. And like, they were terrible under him at times.
Yeah.
So like, I recognise you want to like protect the players and stuff like that. I totally get that. But, the Guardian reported on him saying, he was asked whether his team had played with a defensive mentality and if that was the aim. And he replied contradictorily, it's not a defensive mentality. You have to have a defensive mentality playing against the top teams. Games are too much now for you to just go and attack and attack and attack. In the last few games, we've been able to do that. Have they? Tell me the last team that had 20 shots against Chelsea. It doesn't happen. Nobody's asking you to have 20 shots against Chelsea. One in the first half would have been something. And I'm sorry, but like, you look back to reading that made me think of the first game Spurs played against Chelsea, Robert Villaham's first game last season at Stamford Bridge, and they had something like 17 shots on target. Now, look, different context, different game, but this idea that nobody can get shots on target against Chelsea is just nonsense, especially with the quality in the squad.
I was going to say, but you've already written yourself off before you go into the match, and I think those kind of comments filter into the squad. I mean, the squad will then be like, okay, well, this is what he's expecting, but this is not what he's said. Yeah, it's a confused message,
and that will frustrate fans. And there's other things frustrating fans. You've got reports coming out from players who've left and how unhappy they were, and like there's just multiple things kind of adding up. And then when you see your team not perform well, but the manager claim they did and that he's proud of it, like there's just that disconnect that will just further like irritate fans, I think.
But also when you set up with a defensive mentality, I mean, I appreciate Elizabeth Turner and Ella Toone, not present, but you've also got the likes of like JC, Clinton, Bizet, like Williams when she's having an absolutely on form one.
Mallard.
You've still got players there who can absolutely deliver for you. So I think then it creates that kind of tension. Well, this is what he expects when we don't have a couple of players there. I don't buy it. I absolutely don't buy it. How well do we think Man United shaped up defensively? Let's look at the other side of the pitch.
I think defensively they did well enough, and you can see that from the few goals that they've conceded. But I also think Chelsea were uncharacteristically wasteful in front of goal. Like they came within centimetres so many times.
Right.
So that is another kind of element to it. Mm-hmm. But it is, to be fair, they have conceded very few goals. I think it's something like 3 goals against in 8 games, which is pretty good going. And I think Tullis-Joyce has had a brilliant season so far. She's absolutely come in and staked her claim, and she's doing a wonderful job and has earned herself a call up to the US team for the first time as well. So
isn't that a touch? Just 3 goals conceded. I mean, considering,
and still 5th.
Yeah, and she wasn't starting last year. I mean, to come in and kind of make that kind of an impact on the squad. I mean, I kind of always feel sorry for her that Man United aren't doing better up the other end, because I think other than that she'd have an absolute stellar one. Chelsea have now won 11 consecutive league games and need just 4 more to set a new WSL record. So just for context, Man City set the record of 14 last season. Do we think Chelsea can do it? I mean, I would love to go into a really floral, beautiful answer about it, but the simple answer is absolutely yes. Like 100%. I don't know how to state it any clearer. Do I think Chelsea will continue to set records? Yes. Yeah.
I agree. I mean,
even when you look at their next 4 league games, Brighton, Leicester, West Ham, yes, Arsenal, but I mean,
Leicester and West Ham are struggling to find the goal. Arsenal have been even Arsenal had more shots on target against Chelsea, and they were going through a dreadful patch when they played them.
I kind of want Brighton to be the thing that trips them up there.
Yeah, but Brighton have been inconsistent in that, like, they started well and then they kind of dipped and they didn't play great against Crystal Palace and they got the win, and then, so
for sure.
I do think Brighton are a team that concede, and I think if you're going to play like that against a Chelsea, listen, if they can exploit, maybe down the flanks and try and find some areas to attack Chelsea, maybe they can get a couple of goals. But whether they can if they can prevent Chelsea from scoring more than them, that will be difficult, because they do concede in the way that they play. They play out from the back all the time.
I do think, is this a case where you just you say to yourself, this is not going to be the game that we're going to be able to do that? You just launch it long and hope for the best?
No, I don't think so. I don't think Brighton don't seem to do that.
No, you kind of stick to your guns.
You stick to the gun.
Yeah.
That seems to be what they're doing.
Well, no, I rate the energy. I've always said that. I really rate the confidence, but there's a time and a place, and you don't want to walk away with 11-0.